Hey guys, what's up? It's Harley and I'm here today to do my January wrap up. I have 13 books to talk about, 12 of which I read, 1 DNF. So let's just hop right into it and start discussing them. The first book that I finished in January was Beautifully Broken Redemption by Catherine Cowles. This is the last book in the Sutter Lake series. I started reading this last year and just fell in love with the series and Catherine as a writer. So this was a little bittersweet because, like I said, it is the end of the series. I'm going to miss Sutter Lake so much and the characters. But in this one, we follow Anna and Mason. And as always, they each have like a little bit of a sad, tragic background. So we find out that Anna had been arrested for something that her ex-boyfriend did, but it all got pinned on her. So she spent some time in like juvie, and she has a criminal record despite her not actually doing anything. And she's distanced herself from her family because her father was abusive as well. But she's just rekindled a relationship with her sister, and her sister has decided to also like distance herself from their family, and she plans to move to Sutter Lake with her and her kids. So the kids are actually staying with Anna while their mom like wraps things up, and Anna ends up getting the call that her sister has died, and suddenly she's left with these two kids, and she's determined to get custody of them because she does not want her parents to get custody because, like I said, her father was abusive. And on the other side of things, we have Mason, who he works for Cade. Was his name Cade? I'm blanking on his name. But the guy from, like, I think it was the last book, he was like the hacker friend. Mason works for him. And Mason can kind of relate to Anna's niece and nephew because he too lost his parents at a young age and has had to deal with the same things that they are currently going through. But he meets Anna at the homeless shelter that Anna works at. For some reason, Anna just has like this little kind of like animosity towards him. I feel like it's a little unwarranted. Basically, I think she just thinks that he's too good to be true, and he's just like coming to the homeless shelter just to make himself look good because he's like rich, he's successful, and she's like, why is this man here? But he ends up offering to marry her so she has a better chance of getting the kids, and they enter into a fake marriage kind of situation. So obviously they end up falling in love. That's how everything always goes. Like I said, Mason can relate to the kids' situation. I wish there was like more moments of that, like maybe just the kids being upset and trying to keep it from Anna, not wanting to break down in front of her, but maybe like he sees it and decides he can like help and talk to them. And I wanted Anna to like overhear that kind of conversation because I feel like that would have made her fall more in love with him. I think that would have been a really good plot point to put in. But I did really like Mason and Anna together. I thought they were really cute, and like I said, I liked the kids a lot. I ended up giving this one a 4.75, a real good start to the month. The next book I have to talk about, I don't want a physical copy of, but I listened to the audiobook, and that was Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This is a romantasy. It is about a girl named Cyrus, and she basically like lives in the desert kind of climate, and basically everyone's like super poor, and she's just trying to make her and her brother survive. She's trying to take care of her brother. Her parents are gone, and her brother kind of gets into some trouble, and she's trying to cover for him. She gets taken to the castle, and basically she was gonna die. Basically there's something that's calling her, and she summons this Quicksilver that kind of saves her. She does get like fatally wounded, but because of the Quicksilver, somebody came through this portal and brought her back into his world and saved her. She gets taken into this completely new world of the Fae, And to her, the Fae have always just been stories. So she's trying to navigate this whole new world. The man that saved her, Kingfisher, there's a lot to say about that. He's like a super, I don't know, revered kind of Fae in this world, but he's also kind of like a little bit like the underdog. Basically, he is the king's stepson, kind of, and the king absolutely despises him and has tried to like get rid of him for years, but he always prevails, and he has been gone for a long time. So Cyrus gets taken into this Fae world, and she has to navigate the different things going on, and they want to use her ability to summon the Quicksilver. She is an alchemist in their world. She has like power over metals, and in order to travel like through the Quicksilver, you need like a relic, but you can't like travel too much because like it can make you crazy. So she is tasked to make these relics for them, and if she succeeds, she can return home. Obviously, Cyrus and Kingfisher have like really great banter, really great chemistry. They get on each other's nerves. She's not afraid to kind of like piss him off, and they have a little antagonistic relationship that develops over the course of the book. I absolutely loved this first book. I gave it 5 stars. I was so obsessed. And like I said, I listened to the audiobook. It was one of those where like the characters like cut in back and forth, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. The next book that I read was The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This is the second book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I read the first book maybe like 2 years ago. It's been a bit. Don't judge me. It's been a bit. But I actually really enjoyed the first book. I absolutely loved the first book of Caraval. And then I just did not love like the next two. I realized that I was a Scarlet girly, and the second book is about her sister. I don't really like Tella. And then the third book kind of like went back and forth between the two characters. I just want more Scarlet. I really don't care about Tella. So I was nervous going into this series, but I really enjoyed the first book. I enjoyed Evangeline. I thought she was like very refreshing and a character I could get behind. And I liked getting to know the other fates that we met in the Caraval series. In this series, in the first book, Evangeline goes to find the fate Jax because she is suffering from a broken heart. Her love is going to marry her stepsister, and it just seemed out of nowhere, and she wanted to stop the wedding. Chaos ensued, and eventually she has to go to this like kind of like a party. It's like a ball for this kingdom in the Great North, and she kind of ends up like this ball is kind of like, it's giving like The Bachelor a little bit. Like, you go there trying to impress the prince or whatever, and if he fancies you, you might possibly end up married to him. So she goes to this thing, gets involved with all of that while also still dealing with Jax, and you can tell there's like some chemistry between her and Jax. Jax, if you don't know, he is a fate. And his thing is, if he kisses somebody, they will die unless they're his true love. And we're led to believe that Donatella from Caraval was his true love, and she rejected him. So, like, there's no hope for him. But you can't help but, like, root for Evangeline and Jax to be able to get together somehow. He thinks he can't fall in love again. He can't have a happy ever after. So he's very against like attempting anything, but he is drawn to her. In this book, something happened to the prince, and there's like a curse placed upon him, and Evangeline is trying to fix this. She's still dealing with her agreement with Jax. She made a deal with him for the previous book, and she must complete it in order to like remove her little tattoo marking that they have a bargain going on. So I can't say too much about this one without spoiling it, because as I said, this is the sequel to a first book. But I had a lot of fun with this book. I had a lot of fun with the series as a whole, and I would definitely recommend checking out Once Upon a Broken Heart. Even if you didn't like Caraval, I think you would like this one because it's a lot of fun. I ended up giving The Ballad of Never After 4 stars. Then I read a book that I ended up DNFing, and that was The Devil's Vice by Mindy Page. I was going to read this for Romanceopoly. It was to read a book from like a genre that you don't typically read. So this is like dark romance, and I don't really read dark romance. I don't know if I've ever fully read dark romance besides like the Coven series, which I'm going to talk about one of those books later, but I don't think I've really dabbled in it. So I was like, I'm gonna check this one out. This one, basically, this woman saves this man and then he begins stalking her, but she kind of likes it. I wasn't vibing with the audiobook right from the beginning, and then once she saved this guy, he like basically died on the table, and when he woke up, he saw her in the room and immediately was turned on and thinking about things. I was like, I'm pretty sure if you just died and like woke up from like a coma, your first thought is not, damn, I want her. I need to get her into bed. I was like, I don't know about this. But that's all he like went on about, was like about her and her scrubs. And then while she was prepping him for surgery, she was just like thinking about how soft his hair was. And I'm like, girl, you don't have time for that. You are like a nurse. You're trying to save a life. And you're sitting here thinking, oh my God, his hair's so soft. I just want to like keep running my fingers through it. It was crazy. And then he instantly begins stalking her and like leaving her stuff. And there was a lot of times of him just staring at her, being turned on. And I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I think I listened to like an hour and a half of it, and I was just like, I can't. So I DNF'd that one and said goodbye, bless and release. Then I decided to pick up the last book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, A Curse for True Love. So I did complete a series already this year, and I feel pretty good about it. Like I said, this is the third book in the series, so can't talk too much about it. But also, yes, I love the UK covers for the series. I don't have the second one. That's why I have hit my plant. That's why I had my US copy. But these books are so pretty. Like, look at it. It's like so. This is the third book in a series, so I can't say too much about it. But we have a like new villain, which kind of shocked me. I thought they were cleared, and it turns out they're not. And they are basically trying everything they possibly can to keep Evangeline and Jax from being together. Which, once again, you know, they're having their own struggles with that. But I enjoyed this one. Evangeline does have amnesia in this. I know how some people feel about amnesia. It wasn't my favorite plot in this book, but I did really enjoy Jax and seeing how protective he was of Evangeline in this book. I ended up giving this one also 4 stars. The first book was my favorite, but I think the series as a whole was a lot of fun. The next book I read was Crossroads by Devney Perry. This one I read on my Kindle, so I don't have the actual book to hold. It's like a ranch setting. Basically, our main character, India, for years has gone to this ranch on vacation during like the summertime. Her dad fell in love with it, and they returned pretty much year after year. There's like a couple of years that they didn't go back, but it is a staple in her life, going to this ranch. And while she's at this ranch, she meets the son of the owner, who's about her age. I think he's like maybe like 2 or 3 years older than her. And she develops a friendship with him that slowly, as time goes on, evolves into a little bit more. But they only see each other during the summer on these vacations. This book goes back and forth between present day and the past trips, and in the present, she is now the owner of this ranch slash resort, and his family isn't exactly thrilled about it, which I understand. This is like a family run business. They thought that it was going to be passed down to them. I understand them being upset about having a new owner, but personally, it's not her fault. Their father messed up and had to sell the ranch because they were facing like bankruptcy, and she offered to buy it. She knew how much it meant to West and his brother, and she didn't want it to fall into the hands of somebody else. She is just there to turn the tides, get them back up on their feet. I was pleasantly surprised that West actually kind of got over his feelings of resentment towards her. He kind of like processed it like fairly quickly. He was initially upset about her buying the ranch, but his attraction towards her like won out, and he wasn't able to see her as this villain coming in and taking the family business. I liked their relationship. I thought they were cute together, and I'm glad that we got the flashbacks to these other summers because it helped really build their relationship, because otherwise it's like she just came back and they just jumped right into things. But getting all that context for what happened over these summers really helped. So this is very much like just a nice little romance with a little bit of family plot on the side. I gave Crossroads 4 stars. I thought it was really fun, and I definitely plan on continuing the series. The next book that I read was The Reckoning by Carolyn Peckham and Susan Valenti. This is book 3 in the Zodiac Academy series. So once again, can't say too much about what happens in this one. This is a romantasy series, and these two twin girls find out they are the heirs to this kingdom. In order to get their inheritance, they have to go to this school called Zodiac Academy and graduate. And basically what comes with that is, like I said, they are the rightful rulers of this place. So technically they could take the throne if they want. They really have no interest in that at this point. They just want the security of having money because they have struggled their whole lives in like foster care and it can only depend on each other. So they go to this school, and basically everybody wants to bully them because in their absence, these 4 other families kind of like took over ruling the kingdom, and the sons of the family intended on, you know, one of them eventually ruling the kingdom. There is also a group that is like very gung-ho supportive of the girls as being the heirs to the kingdom. Like, they're the rightful rulers, they've been waiting for this day. So they have like a little bit of a fan club as well. But these guys are bullying them and trying to get them to leave the school because they don't want them to take the throne, even though they've told them multiple times, we don't care about that. So there are different like classes of fae in this series, and in this one we actually finally get to find out what the girls are, and it's something that hasn't been seen. I don't know if it's never been seen or just hasn't been seen in like a really long time, but we do find out that in this one. The romance, okay, Darcy's romance just kills me, and like I'm 1000% obsessed, and I just have a great time every time they're on the page. And I also kind of was getting behind Tori's relationships in this one. She had a couple going on, and I am finding myself like really liking all the heirs. I feel like each book we get to learn a little bit more about each one, and then you kind of are like, they're not as bad as I thought. But this is a really fun time. I actually listened to the graphic audios of these, so it is hard to follow along like in the book. This is the first time I've had like the actual physical book to read, and I ended up having to be like, no, I just gotta listen to the graphic audio, because just that is how I've been devouring this series, and it just feels foreign to me not to listen to that, because it's so good. It's like a full cast, there's like sound effects and everything, but like I said, it does cut out some stuff, like the boring bits, and like rearranges something, so it's hard to follow along. So someday I'm gonna have to read these like physically, because like they're chunky books. What did I miss in here? I don't know. But you get like the meat of the story in the audiobooks. But I'm definitely continuing on this series because I'm obsessed. And I ended up giving this one a 4.5 stars. The next book I read was my buddy read of the month with my friend Victoria, and we read Isabel and the Beast by Marie Soleil? Marie Soleil? I don't know how you say her name. But this is, I guess, like a contemporary retelling of Beauty and the Beast. I was a little confused on that because it felt like there was some kind of magic in this, like revolving around the weather at the castle. They said it like reflected the owner's mood. So I don't know how that worked. I don't know if there was like a little sprinkle of magical element in this. So our main character, Isabel, is wanting to get into acting, and she's getting offered the lead role in like a Hallmark movie, but she is cast opposite Adam Stone, who has a bit of a rebellious reputation as he got in a fight with another famous actor, and this would be like his comeback role. So she has to go to his mansion to like meet him to see if he will do the movie with her, which seemed a little weird to me. Like, I feel like casting would be doing all this stuff, not her going there, but whatever. And on her way up to his mansion, it starts snowing in California in May, and I'm pretty sure she said it was like Southern California. It's weird. That's the little like weird magic that I was talking about. But she goes up there and tries to get him to this movie, and he basically tells her no. Things don't go well, and she tries to leave, but she gets stranded there because of the snow and is forced to spend the night at the castle. So they are forced to spend time together in like close quarters. At first, they both try to like avoid each other, but eventually they have to talk to each other. So it's not just them in the castle. He also has like staff, you know, like Beauty and the Beast. He has the staff. And it definitely feels like they're little busybodies trying to hook them up. I did think this was fun. Like, the humor was fun and the little nods to like Beauty and the Beast were fun, but it did get a little like repetitive after a while. It also felt a little insta-lovey on his side. Like, she already knew who he was and she's had a crush on him since he started acting. So she already had like little feelings there. Him, it just like once he started like to talk to her more, all of a sudden he was like, I'm in love with her. Oh my god. But you do uncover like what happened. Like I said, he did get in a fight with another actor, and you learn why there are little secrets going on. And because of these secrets, I really wish there was a plot where she helped to try to expose it. She does kind of, but I wish she was the more like undercover kind of thing, where she had to like go meet this other actor. Which, that's the other thing. The other actor is like the Gaston type, but we never actually see him in this book. He's just talked about, and then they have like a phone conversation, and like that's it. I think that could have been like a little more thought out. Like I said, a little more interaction there with like her being this new actress trying to expose him. I think that would have been fun. But yeah, this was just a fun time, but it wasn't like something to think back on a lot. So I gave this one 3 stars. Then I picked up yet another sequel, Brimstone by Callie Hart. This is the second book in the, is it Fae and Alchemy? I think that's what the Quicksilver series is called. As you can see, I still have the stickers on because I tried to peel them off and failed, and I just haven't felt like attempting to get them off again. But this one, I had mixed feelings on this one. I absolutely loved the first book. This one felt a little slower. In this one, we follow 2 POVs. We follow Saris and we follow Kingfisher. And it took me a while to get into Kingfisher's POVs. Eventually, I did enjoy them, especially when him and Carrion like went off together. I thought that was amusing, and I started liking it a little bit more. But his were a little hard for me to get in. I really liked Saris and her voice. So I think that was part of the problem for me, the 2 POVs. Also, I feel like people introduce two POVs when they want to split characters up, which is something that happens in this book. They kind of both go on their separate journeys. I'm not a fan of that all the time. And that was one that like I kind of suffered through in this one. I also feel like the events that happened at the last book set up for something really intriguing, and I feel like this one was just a bunch of setting up again. Like, instead of getting to whatever was happening at the end of the last book, we just muddled through more tasks we needed to cover. I still do think the characters are really funny and they have good banter, but I did struggle through this. It was a little bit slower. So I ended up giving this one just a 3.75, which feels like a disappointment. Like I said, I did have a good time reading this, but it did not live up to Quicksilver. So I'm really hoping the third book brings us back to that first book feeling. The next book, which is the last book that I have physically that I read, was Dangerous Alliance by Janiki Cohen. I honestly don't know how to say that name at all. But I ended up picking this one up on audio. I'm trying to like read my top shelf reads. Like, most of them, I don't want to say like are rejects, but I kind of like put the books on the top shelf that I don't think of often or that I don't plan on reading immediately. Like, there are some books up there that are like my absolute favorite, like YA contemporaries, which that's like mostly what's up there is like YA books, and I feel like I'm not enjoying YA as much as I used to, so I need to be a lot more picky about that. But I decided to pick this one up because it was available on audio, and honestly, I thought the audio was such a fun time. As it says on the cover, it's an ostentatious romance. So our main character, Vicky, she is an absolute fan of Jane Austen, and she takes it upon herself to like take cues from Jane Austen heroines. Basically, Vicky has been able to do whatever she wants because she is the second daughter. Her sister has already gone off and got married, so she's not like expected to go off and get married immediately. She has some time to do what she wants, maybe fall in love. But her sister ends up coming home because of something that happened with her husband. And suddenly, Vicky is forced to marry for the well-being of the family. They need to ensure that Vicky inherits the lands if something were to happen to their father, because they don't want her sister's husband inheriting the lands. So Vicky finds herself thrust into the marriage market, and she decides to take cues from Jane Austen heroines and try to find a man through the books. And then we have Tom, who is her childhood best friend and her neighbor, and they grew up together. Like I said, we're best friends, and then something happened and he got sent away and hasn't talked to her in like 5 years. So he just came back because his father died and everything passed on to him. So he's back to like settle debts and stuff, and also establish a hotel business for himself. And I actually really liked Tom. He was definitely the one I was rooting for. I thought he was very sweet, and like I said, I was rooting for their friends to lovers relationship, which sometimes I feel like I don't gravitate towards. But in this one, I really did enjoy them and their relationship, and them figuring out what happened in the past to cause this rift between them. Because, like I said, Vicky doesn't understand why he just cut off contact with her, and he actually did it to protect her. There is also like a little, I guess, suspense plot in this. Somebody is trying to like kidnap or kill Vicky. Right from the beginning, when Vicky and Tom are reunited, he is trying to save her from an attempted kidnapping, and the guy ends up getting away. And throughout this book, things keep happening, and you think it's about her, but you're not entirely sure why, because like I said, Vicky hasn't done anything. Why would somebody be trying to get after her? So you think maybe they're mistaking her for her sister, but they're after her, and it's a little wild, a little crazy. I did really enjoy this one. I thought it was really fun, and I would possibly read this again. So this one gets to stay on the shelf. I gave this one a 4-star. The next book I read was The Damned by Harper L. Woods. This is the third book in the, I don't know the exact series name, but the first book is The Coven. So as I said, this is the third book, so you can't talk too much about it. Also, they're like kind of companion books. Like the first 2 books follow 2 characters, and then this one follows 2 other characters, and I assume there's gonna be another one, especially with that ending. I'm assuming we're following the same 2 characters from this book. So in this one, we follow Margot, who is one of Willow's friends at this witchy school. And we also follow, I'm going to say his name wrong, I feel like, Beelzebub. I think it's Beelzebub. He is a, like, archdemon or something that is, I think, Lucifer's right-hand man. So in this series, obviously we're following a group of witches, and stuff happens in the first 2 books that brings Lucifer and his demons to our world, and they are now there in this book. But at the end of the second book, something happened to Margot, and Beelzebub, I'm gonna butcher his name every time, they end up going to hell and are separated from everybody else. And basically this book is them traveling through the 9 circles of hell, trying to get back to our world. I actually really like this one. I actually think I like Margot more than I liked Willow. I feel like her voice was better. She was also just very intriguing. I liked her in the first 2 books, and so getting to know more about her, I absolutely loved. She's dealt with a lot of stuff. Her story is like a hard one to she has a very tragic backstory. So, like I said, these books are like dark romance paranormal series. I don't know. If you're interested in the series, I would definitely check out like trigger warnings, because there's like trigger warnings galore. I think when you start the book or the audiobook, it actually like lists them out. Margot is a rape survivor, and one of the people in the coven was taking advantage of her, but also taking advantage of other girls. I think it was like elder daughters of the coven, but we only know about her. But it did get like exposed that there were others, and that's something that she wants to explore when she gets back to the surface, is see if she can find the others and talk to them. It's important to her character because the type of witch that she is deals with like lust and like seduction in a way. I feel like she's kind of like a little bit like a succubus kind of. They like feed off this sexual lustful energy of others to do their magic. And in this one, they kind of compare it to like a siren. She ends up like having like some kind of siren form. So I would say it's a mix between a siren and a succubus, like their magical abilities. But because of what she's experienced, she doesn't do the magic she needs to release it. And it just keeps like building up in her because she is not comfortable being put in sexual situations. Throughout this book, in the 9 circles of hell, you have to like defeat, I don't know, like the sin kind of in each circle to pass. You have to like prove that you're worthy, and literally like the second circle they're in is the circle that she will go to when she dies. It's like the lust area. And we, like I said, like pretty much off the bat have to deal with that circle and see her try to overcome this. Beelzebub has heard her sing, and so he believes he's under her spell, and they're both trying to like break it, not be in contact with each other, which is really hard when they are in hell together. and she has to rely on him to get through this. So it's very much their relationship throughout the book, and I really appreciated, he's a demon, but he has shown her like more kindness and consideration than these men that she grew up with. He was very patient with her and understanding of how she felt and willing to do things on her terms. But he was also there to let her know, like, it's all right. It's something you have to do to get through this. I really liked it. And the end definitely left on a cliffhanger. So I'm definitely waiting for the next book to come out. I haven't seen any word on when that will be. But I gave this one 4.25 stars. This was my favorite of the series so far. The next book I read on my Kindle, and it was Forbidden by Tabitha Suzuma. This is a taboo romance that I was using for that romantasy prompt of like a genre you don't really read. Once again, I feel like taboo stuff I don't really read. I remember hearing a lot of like good things about this book. I think it came out like early 2010s. I remember just like when it came out, kind of like a lot of talk about it. So it's always kind of been there on my radar, and I decided to read it for this prompt when the other one didn't work out. So Forbidden is a forbidden romance between two siblings. So Maya and Lachlan, I don't know if that's how you say his name. I kept wanting to call him Lachlan, but the other L is missing. So Lachlan. They are siblings, and they are raising their 3 younger siblings basically together. Their father left their family, got remarried, and then he moved all the way to Australia. They live in England, and he moved to Australia and like restarted his family. So he's not in the picture at all. And their mother is basically a drunk. She's in and out of the house between boyfriends, and she's just a terrible parent. Like, their home situation, horrible. Absolutely hate their mother. Like, they literally have to threaten her with like calling the police to get money from her for things that they need, like to pay the bills, to get money for food, for school uniforms, anything. She's just horrible. And she does tend to try to like make them feel guilty. And when she does come home, like, the younger kids want to spend time with her, and she's always just like, oh, I'm tired. And like I said, they basically have to threaten her to spend time with her own children and help them out. So throughout this book, we see their family dynamics. And like I said, because the 2 eldest children kind of had to take on this parental role, I understand kind of like the situation they're in. Like, they didn't feel like brother and sister to each other. They felt like, you know, like something more, like only the 2 of them could understand their situation that they're in. Because even like the younger children don't quite get it, because they're not the support system for the rest of the family. I personally did not see the chemistry between the 2 characters. I did not like Maya, really. I felt like her character wasn't as developed as the other ones. I don't know if it was meant to be read this way, but when I read it, I felt like she was the pursuer of this relationship with her brother. Like, obviously he had some kind of feelings too, but he, in my opinion, understood that it was more wrong than she did. Like, she was kind of like, oh, it's wrong, but like, the heart wants what the heart wants. If 2 people are meant to be together, they're meant to be together. Our love will not die. Like, I felt like she pushed the relationship on him quite a bit, because she also always like took things a step further. He would like step back from it and be like, we can't do this, and she would end up like making him feel bad or like guilty about it. So in my opinion, she was definitely the pursuer of this relationship. Like I said, I don't know if it was meant to be taken that way, but that's how I see it. Lachlan also deals with like social anxiety, like very badly. He isn't able to really talk to people at school. He struggles to talk to like teachers and stuff. The only people he can really talk to are his family members. So he's like kind of in this isolated situation as well, where the only people he feels comfortable with are his family members. So I feel like that also played a big role in his partaking of this relationship. As a romance, like I said, I just wasn't feeling it. I didn't particularly sense their connection, besides like they're the only two that could understand what they're going through raising these kids. So on the relationship side, I did not like this book, but on the family side, I really like this book. I thought the family relationships were really great. I thought how they reacted to each other and like their sense of duty and loyalty to each other, how they went through struggles with their middle brother. He was just acting out and feeling very rebellious and stuff, and I understood them like struggling with that, trying to push him in the right direction but also give him the space to make mistakes of his own, and then having the two youngest ones look up to them and trying to get them through school and stuff and make them feel like they're not missing out from the love from their mother and father. Like I said, the family relationships I absolutely loved. So it was really weird because, like I said, the romance side was like very low in my rating, but the family stuff was like high, and I was like, how do I rate this book? So I ended up giving this one 2.5 stars because, like I said, on the romance side, I did not enjoy it. The family side, I did, and I kept going between like a 2 and a 3, so I was like, I'll go in the middle with that. I really do wish there was like an epilogue to the epilogue, because I wanted to see how they were doing after all the events of the book. I felt like we needed a little bit more like in the future just to make sure that they're okay. And the last book I read this month was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I've read one other Emily Henry book and I thought it was okay. I read Happy Place and I felt like the characters just weren't for me. I was not invested in their story, but I did like her writing. This one is the one I should have started with because this one almost got 5 stars from me. I was so invested in the characters and their relationship and just the chemistry between the two of them. This one, we follow Poppy and Alex, and they meet at college, feel completely opposite from each other, and they just move on from that point. You know, they saw each other once at orientation, went the whole year without seeing each other, but when Poppy needs a ride back home, her friend hooks her up with somebody who also lives in the same area as her, and lo and behold, it's Alex. And so they are forced to spend a like road trip back from college, and that is kind of how their friendship forms. Like I said, they really are like kind of opposites of each other. Poppy's very like kind of loud and boisterous. She like wears brightly colored clothing, a little strange clothing. Alex is more like reserved, and they just don't seem like they would work together, but they weirdly have like the same kind of humor. This trip home really cemented their friendship, and they end up taking trips together every summer after. They kind of like section that spot out for that is our Alex Poppy time. So throughout the year, they'll like constantly text each other and call each other, and during summer break, they go off somewhere on a vacation. And Poppy enjoys vacationing so much, she decides she wants to try to make a career out of this, and she ends up becoming like a travel blogger. So her job is literally to go on vacations and like report back on it. So this book is told in present day this summer, and then all the summers leading up to that. So we know that something happened 2 summers ago. They haven't talked for 2 years. It does take a while to reveal what happened, but I really liked seeing their relationship through these summers. And I could tell that they both liked each other, but neither of them would do anything about it because they were friends. I really enjoyed their relationship, and I just I just love them together. I've had such a great time with this book. Like I said, I almost gave it 5 stars, but there was like a little miscommunication at the end where he like latched onto something that she said, and I was just like, did you not hear everything else that she said? Why are you focusing on this one line that wasn't even about him personally? It was just how she was explaining this like funk that she was in. I did just watch the movie as well because I wanted to read the book first, and the movie was all right. I feel like it could have been a lot better, but it just didn't handle it right. They did like combine vacations and like plot points together and like condensed a lot, and I feel like they could have actually shown each of the vacations in some way and still fit the time frame, I guess. And there's just like jokes that didn't hit because they took out like the context of the jokes. And one of the big like points of the movie is something with Alex, and they kind of like glossed over it. They like mentioned it, but they did not give the reason for his worry. And so when something happens later in the movie, you don't quite get why he's as upset as he is. But I still liked the movie. I think the actors were perfect for the roles, but like I said, like the context was just missing throughout the whole movie. I gave People We Meet on Vacation, the book, 4.75 stars because like I said, it was just that little thing at the end that I had to dock for. And those were all the books that I read in January. Let me know what your favorite of the month was. Mine is definitely Quicksilver and People We Meet on Vacation. Those are definitely the high points and will probably stick with me the longest. So it'll be interesting to see where they end up at the end of the year. But that's it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.